Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Marksans Pharma Q4 FY21 earnings conference call hosted by Arihant Capital Markets Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star and 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Abhishek Jain. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. On behalf of Arihant Capital, I welcome every one of you on this conference call of Marksans Limited Q4 earnings call. I would like to now hand over the management for the opening remarks. Mark, sir, please.
Thank you, Abhishek. Good evening, friends. Hope you and your families are safe and doing well. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you to the Q4 and FY21 earnings calls. I'm pleased to be addressing the investors on the financials for the quarter and year update and the outlook going forward. Our company has had a challenging but yet rewarding quarter. Adapting to a pandemic is something no one anticipates, but yet it's necessary in order to survive and succeed. We've conducted our business with determination in the face of a lockdown being reimposed in several states in India, but at the same time, we have put in place adequate safeguards to ensure safety and minimal disruption of people and good movement. Marksans has had a unique business model compared to the other peers in the sector. Unlike other companies, our focus is into the Western regulated market space, which are tough to enter from a regulatory perspective. The United States and the United Kingdom generate around 85% of our revenue, while Australia accounts for about 10%. We have production facilities in India, United Kingdom, and United States that produce a wide range of dosage forms, including tablets, sustained-release tablets, liquids, ointments, soft gels. We provide therapy to a wide range of lifestyle-induced problems. All these contents have been included in our investor presentation, which has been uploaded. Our continued investment in our subsidiaries gives me confidence that this is just a beginning and there's more to come. As stated in the previous quarters, we have achieved a revenue of 1,376 crores for the full year. We have a strong business strategy and a module that will enable us to grow in the coming years, and I'm confident that our company will reach our next milestone of 2,000 crores in the next few years. With this, I'd like to turn it over to Jitendra, our CFO, who will give you the brief update on financial before we begin the Q&A. Thank you. Jitendra?
Thanks, Mark. Let me start with quarterly highlights. Revenue from operation for the quarter was rupees 330.2 crores. EBITDA was at rupees 95.4 crores. EBITDA margin expanded by 830 basis points on year-on-year basis to 28.9% in Q4, which was our highest EBITDA margin ever. Profit after tax was at rupees 79.5 crores, showed remarkable growth of 86% on year-on-year basis. We recorded highest PAT margin of 23.6% in this quarter, which expanded by 1,090 basis points. EPS for the quarter was rupees 1.93 as against rupees 1 in the corresponding quarter. On a full year basis, our revenue from operation was at rupees 1,376.2 crores, which was a growth of 21.3% on year-on-year basis due to greater market depth in existing products. EBITDA was at rupees 339.6 crores, which translates into record high margin of 24.7% compared to 17% in FY20. Profit after tax of rupees 238.5 crores showed a 97.5% improvement on year-on-year basis. PAT margin for the year was at 17.2%, highest ever with an improvement of 660 basis points year-on-year. EPS for the year grew 2x to rupees 5.76 as against 2.86 for FY20. The cash and cash equivalent in the book was rupees 212.3 crores as of March 2021. We continue to remain debt-free, and our free cash flow for the year FY21 was at rupees 132.3 crores. I'm pleased to share that we have consistently expanded our EBITDA margin for last 6 quarters, which is a result of operating leverage kicking in and changes in the product mix. We are cautiously optimistic to continue this traction or keep the margins at current levels in coming quarters. Since we became debt-free in Q4 of FY20, reduced interest burden has helped expand PAT margins. This has also led to a better return ratio with return on equity at 26.3% in FY21 as compared to 2.6% in FY17. Return on capital employed also showed a similar trend, improving from 3.2% in FY17 to 32.6% in FY21. India experienced the second wave of COVID-19 leading to a lockdown across country. We are now seeing the COVID curve coming down in India with lockdown rules being relaxed in different parts of the country. Also, in our key target markets of US, UK and Europe, vaccination is taking at record pace, which has enabled removal of lockdown restrictions there. Further, the same also lowers the risk of third wave. With this, our outlook for the coming fiscal remains steady, and I'm cautiously confident that we will be able to continue the momentum as we move forward. With that, I would like to open the floor to Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Ridesh Gandhi from Discovery Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir, and congratulations on your numbers. It would be great if you could just highlight in terms of the growth of drivers you guys are looking at to effectively reach the 2,000 crore aspiration, and how long you would expect it to reach that in, and also effectively if these numbers are is it sustainable into FY23, or if there's any benefit which we have because of actually kind of this COVID.
So basically, we have not enjoyed any unusual benefits in COVID. Obviously, lift up of medicinals have been much higher than the normal, but otherwise there is no one-off benefit that we have seen coming out. While there are certain molecules which did better, but there are certain molecules which didn't do better. So I think I would not basically give much weightage or any. I would say that I don't think COVID actually benefit us in any big way for the last financial year. Coming to our roadmap of 2,000 crores, well, we expect obviously growth in all our subsidiaries that we are doing. We are focused into the regulated space, and we expect a better vision and better product mix basically to generate and fuel the growth. We've got a long way to go in most of the markets, and we do see our growth drivers being in the US, followed by UK and then the rest of the world.
Because that's helpful. And just actually, the last question is that you guys are generating a reasonable amount of operating free cash flow. If you could just highlight some of the uses of the free cash flow and effectively the kind of returns we expect to be able to generate on the reinvestment of our free cash flows.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously we have some capex in plan. We are looking at expanding our manufacturing capabilities and footprints. This is again taking into consideration the next couple of years, our growth outlook to touch the new milestone. We would need additional infrastructure to produce and support those revenue, the futuristic revenue. So we need to invest into. So our focus is into expanding our infrastructure where manufacturing is concerned. We are also looking at backward integrating into raw materials. So we need some resources and funds to fuel that expansion plan for the API.
And you guys will be announcing the capex plan also soon. Is that on the drawing board?
I think we have already mentioned that in our investor presentation, and we have obviously the plan. We have put nearly 200 crores within the next couple of years to be invested into infrastructure and capex, and that will be partly, organic capex in terms of manufacturing facilities or acquisitions. It may include both, whichever gets us there faster. But we are looking at presently we are looking at expanding our manufacturing capabilities and infrastructure.
Thank you and all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one now. The next question is from the line of Venkat, Organic Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, Mark. We have practically nothing to complain about in terms of performance, but I do have a comment to make. On a free cash flow of over about 150 odd crores, and after earning over about 6 rupees, if the distribution is of 10 paisa and 25 paisa, etc., it smacks of a little bit of a tokenism. It's not as though dividend in our hands is any better than in your hands. But the numbers will not look good. What are your thoughts?
So we had this. We had a internal discussion with the board when we declared our dividends or what we are planning for this particular year. The dividend guidance that we have given is a general guidance based on the free cash flow basis. But obviously, year to year, the dividend will be discussed, will be decided based on performance and actual. This year, obviously, the dividend is being declared, although it is a big improvement over the previous years. But the facts, it's like it's nearly 100% from where we last gave our dividend. So it's in the positive direction. But we have to take into mind the capex plan and the funds required to basically fuel the future of the company. So based on that, we arrived at a dividend. Obviously, we are at a growth phase, and we are at a stage where we need to basically take the next leap. Let's put it this way. So a lot of resources and funds will be needed to basically create that infrastructure to get to our next objective.
You are the best judge on this, Mark. But a company that makes over about 6-7 rupees, distributing 25 paisa, it really doesn't add up, and it doesn't leave a good image. But and frankly, it's in everybody's interest. I think you probably need to consider.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ayush A from Mittal Analytics. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir, and congratulations on a good set of performance for the entire year. So my first question is, on our pain management division, where we have seen an exponential growth in FY21 of around over 70%. So first, we would like to know, are there any specific products that have contributed to this growth, or was this, was there a one-off in this, and can we see the numbers going down, or what really led to this growth in the pain management division?
So, pain management, which is the highest contribution, there is no one-off in there. I think it's a focus onto that segment. We've been focusing on the segment to grow it. It is a strong segment that we have penetrated into the market with. So just to answer your first point, that there is no one-off out there, and it is quite diversified in terms of the portfolio. So I do see this segment basically leading the rest of the portfolios at all given stage in the next at least 2 to 3 years. We'll always see the pain management segment contributing substantially to the company's revenue.
And so what would be the key products in this segment, if you can name a few?
The key, there are quite a few products starting from diclofenac to ibuprofen to paracetamol. So there are quite a few products that basically fall in this segments, including some gels that we are launching for pain. But again, it is related to pain.
And just to follow up on this, we can assume that most of it would be from volume growth and not just realization growth?
Yeah, they are volume growth only and market share, basically.
Right. So the second question would be that, like you had mentioned that your focus is on this segment, but that has led to, degrowth in 3 of our segments, if I can put that way: cardiovascular, cough and cold, and anti-diabetics. So your thoughts on that and how the company is thinking about these divisions as well, because we had a good amount of revenue share from these divisions as well, and they have degrown quite a bit in this financial year.
Again, this I think is just a phase. Basically, I would not say that we have degrown to that level. It is again a matter of traction. It is a matter of market penetration into certain segments. And obviously we have to look at price erosion also that takes place in certain segments that basically give you the end value. So it is a mixed basket. So I would not put much stress. I do believe that these are sustainable numbers and these will only improve in the years. But obviously, in compared to pain management, the pain management will always be in the forefront. We do not have a huge portfolio on cardiovascular, so we would not. I would not say that cardiovascular is going to go ahead of the pain. But I do believe in sustain. I do believe it will sustain, and it may show improvement from here on.
All right, that's good. So just one last bookkeeping question to Jitendra, if you can take this one. So we see a lot of variability in our expenses. So if you see, our employee costs have gone up sequentially, quarter a lot. Our other expenses have gone down a lot, and then depreciation has always been a concern because it keeps jumping up and down. So if you can throw some light on these 2 line items and how can we see them shaping up in the coming year?
So hi Ayush, this is Jitendra here. I will reply to this question. Employee cost increase in Q4 was mainly on account of increments which we have given, and also the incentive given to the management team out in US, UK, and India. So it is function of both increment and some incentives. Yes, the quarter-on-quarter employee costs have increased. Because of the growth and expansion, we have we are adding more people into our payroll. So that is also another reason. We have also started API division, in Q4, wherein we have got few employees. They have also added to the number. So basically, this is a result of all these initiatives. Your other question was, with the other expenses, which basically have shown a decrease in Q4. Actually, there is as such no decrease. There is a bit of reclassification here. We used to add freight expenses in other expenses. Now we have bifurcated freight into freight inward and freight outward. Freight inward expenses we have reclassified into the purchases element, which has gone into gross margin side. And freight outward expenses are continuing as other expenses. So in Q4, there was a figure of around 28 crores, which has gone in a purchase figure as freight inwards.
Answer your comments on depreciation.
Depreciation expenses, actually, this is because of change in accounting policy of amortization of goodwill. So instead of amortization, now onwards, we will test goodwill for impairment. And there was a reversal of an amount of around 6.5 crore rupees, which we have charged in Q3 numbers, which got reversed in Q4.
All right. So we can see some sustainability going on.
Yeah. Now, of course, it's a policy change. So now it will continue like what we have in Q4.
All right. So thank you for your answers. I'll come back in this.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Aejas Lakhani from Unifi Capital. Please go ahead.
Congratulations on the set of numbers. Could you please explain us, the distribution strategy that you have across geography with, how do you distribute products, feet on street, all that, and the pricing intensity? And you mentioned in your remarks that you've seen pricing pressure in a couple of markets. So how is the pricing intensity right now and competitive forces in place?
So obviously we have our subsidiaries in all the markets. We basically our subsidiaries handle the sales and distribution onwards, and our aim is always to basically distribute products to the end user if possible. If not, it goes by wholesalers or the distribution channels, which are available in certain markets. So again, every market dynamics are different where distribution is concerned, but we are doing our distribution. Our subsidiaries are doing their own distribution, and we don't use a third party for any distribution where that is concerned. In terms of pricing pressure, obviously we are in the generic space. Volatility will remain, and especially during a pandemic. While we may see ups in certain molecules, we may see downs in certain molecules. But this is the nature of the beast, and we are in that market for some time now. So we have, let's say, mastered that art in terms of ensuring that we are competitive. At the same time, we hold our market position.
So, and could you just mention a bit about the feet on street that you have across locations? How do they operate? How are they incentivized? That's it. Thanks.
I didn't get your question. Did you say? Sorry.
Yeah, the marketing reps, the feet on street who are actually helping you reach out to the end consumers. Could you mention about, what is their breakup in terms of how many are there in the US, UK, any numbers for rest of the world? How are they incentivized? A little bit on that.
The sales team is always incentivized based on sales and based on performance and budgets and targets. In terms of the number of people, again, it varies from country to country, territory to territory, and segment to segment. We have different people for different segments. Like OTC, we have different people. For RX, we have different people. So and obviously, it is nowhere near what you see in India in terms of medical reps or something of that stuff. But because we are in the generic space, but we still do have salespeople in US, in UK, and in Australia. So we do have sales representatives in all these countries that basically meet accounts and facilitate the distribution channel.
Thanks, I'll fall back in queue.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of VP Rajesh from Banyan Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. Congratulations on a good set of numbers. Just wanted to understand this 200 crore capex that you have mentioned. How much of that is directed towards API, and what kind of APIs are we getting into?
Basically, we have allocated very close to 40 to 50% of that funds into API. You're talking of between 100 to 120 crores we have allocated for formulations. And the formulation part of it is obviously we are looking at a new facility because of our increasing demands and meeting with the requirements. The API we've just started the API part of it, and obviously we've got a long way to go. But the idea of getting into API is to basically backward integrate and for captive consumptions on molecules which are big for us, whether it might be anti-diabetic, whether it might be pain management. So we are working in that direction. So definitely we do see funds needed from a capex point of view where API is concerned. Again, these are not funds that we will exhaust in 1 year because we don't have 200 crores sitting in our bank in a bank right now. But we do have a plan for the next 2 years.
Right. Understood. And my second question is that on the margin, we posted very strong margins both in Q4 as well as for the whole year. So are these 24-25% margins sustainable? And if you can just provide some guidance around that.
So you're talking of the margins?
Yes, EBITDA margin, yeah.
Yeah. So basically the EBITDA obviously of the Q4 was great, and these are basically operating leverages. These are forex related. I do believe that it will be unrealistic to expect the same percentage every quarter, but I think we should be if I have to try to put up a number in the coming quarters, it should be somewhere around 23 to 25% EBITDA from an outlook point of view. But definitely, we had operating leverage kicking in the last quarter, which helped us in achieving these objectives. We also had some forex gains in the pound and everything, which also helped us in terms of getting the percentage to what we see.
All right. Thank you so much. And I'll get back in the queue.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Anupam Agarwal from Lucky Investment. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good evening, sir, and congratulations on great set of numbers. Sir, my question, firstly, I want to start with the capex that you outlined. So this 120 crore, 120 crores capex into formulation, what sort of revenue will this generate once this starts to kick in and once we reach the optimum utilization?
So this is when I talk about especially for formulation, we are looking at a new plant by itself. So I would assume the plant in terms of size and capabilities would match our footprint of what we are generating from our Goa facility. So I mean, you could expect another 500, 600 or plus crores coming out from that plant. But again, I must say that this is not something that will happen in the next 12 months. It's a period of next 24 months that we are looking at. But once we get the plant and we have machineries to install, the qualifications to be done. So it's a lot of work, and in pharmaceutical you got to invest today to see returns after 3 years or 2 years or 3 years. So it is all about we are at a stage where we want to basically rule our growth beyond 2 years. So that's where the investment requirement is there today.
Right. So when will this plant commission, and by will it take 2 years to optimally utilize it?
So I mean, the commissioning of a plant, it just depends on the progress, and obviously COVID does not make things easier. So we are looking at what is the fastest way to facilitate and to basically ensure we complete our objectives at the earliest. So I mean, it could happen in a year, it could happen in 2 years. So it's difficult to actually give an accurate timeline where that is concerned. But we definitely would get into an expansion mode into a new facility that we are planning to get into. So I'm hoping within the next 12 months to be aggressively optimistic, maybe next 12 months. But otherwise, on a worst case scenario, we're looking at 24 months.
Okay. Okay. And sir, So just to rephrase my question, so basically this capex is to help us grow beyond 2,000 crores, or this is to help us to reach 2,000 crores?
Both. This is to both to ensure that we touch 2,000 crores as well as we don't want to do a fine line walking, so we are looking, but the capacity that will be available will take us beyond 2,000 crores. But it is something that it will help us to facilitate towards the fag end of getting us to 2,000 crores.
Understood. So second question on the API. We are going into backward integration. So just wanted to understand some color on gross margins. We've done about 57% with backward integration into larger molecules that we are present in. What kind of cost savings can we do, and what is the sort of gross margin we can achieve on after we backward integrate into these molecules?
Hi, Jitendra here. And Anupam, it is a bit too early to really comment on how exactly backward integration will help us in terms of the cost savings. The broader idea definitely is very clear that this will definitely reduce our costs. How much? I think it's a bit early to really comment on this.
Understood.
So obviously the idea of backward integration is also to ensure stability in supplies and less volatility. So definitely from a positive angle, at least predictability will be there as to no surprises of cost going up or something of that stuff. So we basically to control cost and to ensure less volatility is there in your P&L. I think that's where the backward integration is going to add value as on today. But in terms of absolute bottom line value addition, that will obviously, when the project gets completed, we'll come to know exactly where we will land in terms of cost saving.
Right. So just a clarification on your comment you made that we may go into organic capex or an acquisition. Can you give some color as to what sort of acquisition are we looking at? Is it going to be in the same focus area that we are present in? Which markets is it going to be? Some color there, please.
No. So that I was meant for infrastructure, like manufacturing plant. We may go greenfield or we may acquire a manufacturing plant. I meant from that angle.
Understood. Last clarification, Jitendra sir, you mentioned about depreciation maintaining at 1.5 crores per quarter, or is it?
No. See, it is basically the average should come to what we had in Q3 as such. So there is a reversal basically for the first 3Q accumulated figure. So the figure of depreciation will remain for what it was there in Q3.
Got it. And so lastly, I would definitely close my comment saying that definitely we have a good cash flow generation. So consider a good dividend or a buyback if at all there is a possibility. Thank you and all the best, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Viraj Mahadevia, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Congratulations, Mark, Jitendra. Excellent results. I was keen to understand a little bit more about your API strategy, particularly the plan to file DMS that you've already done and plan to file 7 more DMS over the next 2 years. Are we planning, given that we don't have our facilities just as yet, are we having them contract manufactured elsewhere? And what is the benefit of this approach? Is there a cost benefit or the ability to transfer those DMS to your new site as you have it?
So first thing, obviously we have got into API. We are looking at API relatively new recently. We have started the R&D part of it. The R&D, we are talking of lab scale up, the validation part of it. So while infrastructure has been created, I felt, we don't need to wait because there's a huge gestation time from a ground zero to actual commercialization. So we felt it was strategic importance. Why wait till infrastructure is created? We get the DMF ready and we file it very close to the facility that we are planning to construct, or within that same campus we can have a small we can have a pilot plant and do it. So we have mixed approaches on the entire portfolio, because no single R&D center can actually do so much of work. So we are contracting it out for the development part of it. Partly they are contracting it out, and partly in-house we are developing it. And we will file the DMF depending on the facility readiness, or if need be, we will contract it out to file the DMF and then site ready it.
Understood. And as you contract it out versus source it, as you're currently doing, do you see an improvement in sort of RM pricing to your benefit?
The idea of getting into API, obviously we do want to have, we do believe that there will be an improvement in the bottom line. We can't quantify. Obviously, the volatility is very high in the last 12 months. But the idea of getting into backward integration is basically to have stability in supplies, less dependency on China or volatile markets. Basically, again, to basically have a much more dependable supply to fuel our formulations, and in a way, when there is predictability and dependability, then definitely it gives you some stability in the P&L and the profitability. Now, if it in terms of improvement, obviously it all depends on the timing of what the chemicals cost and all at that particular time is. But we do see, we do believe that it will add to the bottom line, but we can't quantify it right now. It's too early to quantify.
Understood. Your gross margins have improved meaningfully, and you mentioned, Mark, there's some one-offs, including currency, etc., or forex gains. What do you think are the stable gross margins? 58 to 60%? Do you think going forward are possible?
Yeah, hi, Viraj. Jitendra here.
Go ahead, Jitendra. Okay. I think to be reasonable, anything we are looking at 55 plus. I would like to say 55 plus could be a reasonable task, to see a gross margin. So it could be anything 55 plus above.
Understood. But given that you've done 60 plus in the last 2 quarters, UK is half or 40% of your revenues, and UK currency versus INR has strengthened massively. So you will continue to have the tailwinds there. Dollar is stable. So I'm just trying to get a sense of, I guess 55 plus is acceptable, but more likely, given that you've done 60 to 62, can we see a 58 to 60 going ahead? Because that has a big bearing on your operating leverage and your EBITDA margins then being north of 25%.
So operating leverage will kick in, but predictability, most of our revenue comes from the export market. So predicting foreign exchange, global scenarios is very difficult. So if you are asking me a statement, I can give you a forward-looking statement, which is pretty much not 1, 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, but I can give you a general statement to say that 55 plus. It could be 60, it could be 65, or it could be 68. So I think a 55 plus would be a reasonable target.
Okay, great. And this concerted push you've had around pain management, has it largely come from new contract wins and volumes? And do you have now a similar target for other therapeutic areas that you're taking on?
Yes, we have similar targets for various other therapeutic areas. Obviously, we have to achieve those objectives. Pain management is something it's not something that we have achieved overnight. It's something that we have been working on, and we have nurtured it to see the success today. So the pain management has blossomed out basically based on the strategy that we have adopted and the focus that we have put on that segment. And it is an intentional focus, and we are seeing traction and market penetration, let's put it this way. So it's not a one-off thing. I would always believe that the pain management will lead our portfolio.
Right. And as some of the other attendees have mentioned, given your capex of 200 crores for the next 2 years and your current cash balance of 200 crores, which is only going to grow from here with steady performance, you're more than covered to fund your capex for the next 2 years, and you would have spare cash. So, any kind of buyback or dividend would be much appreciated from a shareholder's point of view.
Definitely. We always discuss this. We are always contemplating on that. We are not averse to it. And again, based on the free cash flow, we will definitely consider that.
Great. All the very best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pawan Kaul. Please go ahead.
Hi. So on your new the new capex that you're planning, just want to understand in terms of the therapy mix, would it be the same that you're planning on with your new the formulation facility that will come online in a couple of years? And which regions would you kind of target? Will it again be the same, pushing into the same region?
Yeah, the formulation plant that we are targeting is again in a solid oral dosage form. So yes, it is in the same segment of what we have, because that's where our demand is, that's where our focus is right now. So we are basically in the formulation looking at solid oral expansion. That does not mean that we will not diversify. We will have enough space in that facility to tomorrow expand and diversify into a different dosage form if need be. Obviously, we have a 5-year plan to basically get into different dosage forms too. But as on today, the capex that has been allocated is for to meet our increased demand of formulation in solid oral dosage. The markets that we are present today are the markets that we are strong into. There will be expansion of markets and geographies, and that will again, the new capex of the new formulation plant will help us to service or to cater those increased demands.
Okay, got it. And one of the, if you could comment on the position or the competitive position that you have in the UK market. If I understood correctly, in the last kind of year, you could take a tentpole position for one of the products in the market, where you replaced the competitor because they were kind of out of stock in the market. So how do you see the UK market trending over the next kind of 1 year? Do you see the competitive positioning being the same?
So the UK market is highly competitive, but we have evolved as a company. We've got over 130 odd market authorizations in the UK, and we are growing every year with new product portfolio. So we are quite diversified in terms of dependency and reliability of a single molecule. Yes, maybe a year or 2 years back, it might have been that case, but today we, as a company, we have got a very diversified portfolio in UK. So we do see the numbers maintaining of the sales and the traction, but we also see new revenue being generated from newer molecules being approved, and that gives us confidence because we are investing into that market, and even as we are growing, as it is doing well for us, we are still investing, and we still have a 3-year plan to take it to new heights.
Got it. And coming back on your API expansion, I just want one clarification. So you mentioned the raw materials, the stability of prices and improvement in gross margins being the rationale for the capex. So I want to understand, so the volatility in prices is actually being caused by the KSM that you kind of procure within the API. So what kind of portion of margins would you capture when you kind of backward integrate? Because even with the backward integration, you would still have to be faced with the brunt of the volatility in the KSM prices, right?
Yeah, so we are planning, obviously, when you get into API, you will get into API from the KSM stage by itself. We have seen over over the past 3 years, the volatility in supplies, because we are into formulation, we have contracts, we have commitments. The volatility into supplies has gone pretty much out of control. And this is basically more fueled by the China and the various policies that evolve from that country. But obviously the world is taking the brunt of that. So we would like to basically be less dependent on external factors and be more independent. And that was the main aim of getting into API. It is basically to secure the molecules which are strong with us and basically to fuel our objectives and growth. And yes, we would like to be as competitive as possible, and we would not like to lose that competitive edge due to the volatility, or we would like to prevent any unforeseen cost that could basically result into basically hurting our revenue. So obviously, last 2 years, I believe the API prices have become very unrealistic overall.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abhishek Sharma from GYR Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, congratulations first of all for such a fantastic numbers. Well, my question is, if you look at the year-on-year numbers, so our profitability has gone doubled. But when I look at the cash flow, so our cash flow has gone down. So earlier in 2020 it was 210 crore, and this year it is 179 crores. Now, if you look at the cash flow from operating, major amount has been allocated towards inventory. So is it something like inventory which is getting piled up? Because even in inventory turnover, it's gone down little bit. So can you just highlight over it?
So hi Abhishek. There is no pile up of inventory as such. If you see the numbers for March 20, inventory was of around 242 crores, and in March 21 it has increased to around 400 crores. So we have to go back to March 20 number, and the March 20 number itself was actually on the lower side because there was a lot of panic buying in the month of March 20 itself due to the COVID in all our geographies. And March 20 inventory got depleted, so the number which is there in March 20 books was actually on lower side. Now we needed to build up this inventory level back to a safe level, wherein we can service our customers in time. So see, our business model is front-end driven, and we service our end consumers directly. In US, UK, we have to ensure that we keep at least 3 months of finished goods of inventory, and because it's a very cumbersome process of distribution, wherein they keep placing orders every week, and we need to ensure that we deliver without any failure. Otherwise, there are penalties. So we need to maintain a level of inventory of at least 3 months of finished goods at all these geographies. So this is definitely one of the area where our inventory levels have gone up. So in this last year, of course, due to the COVID-related challenges in logistics, the shipment times have almost doubled. There were a lot of congestion at the port levels. The products which we were manufacturing from India and shipping to UK, US, earlier they used to take around 30 days time to reach. Now, they have started, over 50 days to reach. So that's another reason we need to have a safety stock, at these locations. At raw material level also, the supply situation was, bit volatile. And we needed to have sufficient level of inventory in the system. So yes, inventory levels have gone up, but there is no pile up, and of course these levels will continue. In my last Q3 con call also, we have estimated our working capital cycle of around 120 days, and we are actually at 128 days in March 21. So I think these levels will continue. There is nothing there is no pile up as such.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ronak Singhvi, a retail investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thank you. And congratulations on a good set of numbers. So my question was primarily a few questions, primarily starting with revenue. So it has been mentioned that the revenue has been flat year on year and quarter on quarter because there have been some delay in shipment. So if you can know the value of sales which got delayed because of the shipment, it will be helpful. And also whether this quarter, the current quarter, which is Q1 FY22, whether there will be a spillover effect because of the spillover from the previous month and the previous quarter, as well as growth in the current quarter. Will there be actually a bump up in the current quarter, which will again be a spillover effect?
So, Ronak, see, actually, if you see our revenue growth in FY21, it was 51.6% as compared to FY20. So we have grown in terms of our revenue over last year. Now, coming to Q4 revenue, of course, there were few shipments which got delayed because of the logistical issues. Goa was under lockdown. We couldn't get containers in time. And so, but again, that value is not very high. I think that is around $2 to $3 million kind of value, which we would have got in March 20. So beyond that, of course, it is normal, business for us.
Sure. So around 50 to 20 crores is that what you are referring to?
$2 to $3 million, yeah.
Sure. Thanks. And and also there is if I see last 4 or 5 months, 5 quarters trailing growth, it has broadly been in the range of 330 crores to 360 crores on a quarterly basis. And what is the trajectory which you are expecting this month? And I'm just taking the cue from your last statement in the previous question that the 400 crore inventory is basically a 3-month kind of a revenue, which forward-looking revenue which you are seeing. So are we expecting somewhere the trajectory to go higher from like 370 crores to 400 crores in this per quarter on the revenue side?
See, Ronak, we are looking at growth in current financial year also. And so definitely the revenue will keep growing quarter on quarter. So far as the inventory of 400 crore is concerned, it is the inventory of, it's the all inventory, including raw material, work in progress, and finished goods. It includes everything.
Sure. So if you can just share the split of what is the finished goods and what is raw material and WIP?
See, I think somewhere around 150 crore is on account of material, work in progress, and the balance inventory somewhere around 250 on account of finished goods.
Sure, that's very helpful. Yeah. So also one question which is broadly around the API capacity expansion. A lot of friends have already asked a lot of questions around it, but I'm just trying to relate it to the last annual report. I just observed that only around 74 crore of foreign exchange expenses were made, which I believe would be primarily were they related to API imports or they were something else? And what is the percentage of imports in our APIs, or which are directly or indirectly related to the China factor?
See, those 72 crore definitely count of API imports, and largely coming from China. And this figure basically I think is broadly I think around between 80 to 90 crore in FY21. And in terms of our overall, I think imports from China, percentage of API, I think we import around 25 to 30% of our API requirement from China.
And this could include direct and indirect imports.
See, I don't know about indirect imports. I'm talking about direct imports.
Okay, got it. And with this API investment, what is the sort of, I would say, because our gross margin, which is basically the direct expenses, are around 600 crores in this year, which will be basically raw material. So what will be basically replacing from this API capacity as we go live? How much would be our own contribution from a internal API manufacturing facility? And again, what will continue to be a third-party dependence?
Yeah, Ronak, see, we have already answered this question. It is a bit early right now on these numbers, because right now we have just started this process. We are in development phase. And actually, in terms of the quantum, I think once we near our commercialization, then we will have a better idea, because the cost dynamics are pretty volatile right now. We cannot comment on numbers just for the sake of giving any number.
Sure, thanks. So one is on the capacity utilization, the existing capacity, and I understand that we are expanding the capacity on the formulation side, and the revenue would be around 400-500 crores. What is the existing, all the facilities, what will be our max cap in terms of revenue generation? From what I could infer, would it be around 1,800-1,900 crores where we'll peak out or max out?
No, it will all depend on the product mix, Ronak. And see, the current capacity utilization is around 70%. And how much we can go, again, it's a large factor of product mix. So really can't comment on exact number here.
Thank you. We would request the current participant to please come back in the question queue for any follow-up questions. The next question is from the line of Anupam Agarwal from Lucky Investment. Please go ahead.
The question is again about the earlier participant on capacity utilization. You mentioned 70%, and I was going through my earlier notes. So you mentioned that on a current asset that we have on the ground, we'll be able to touch about 2,000 crores in 3 years' time. So is that visible as of now from the product mix that we have right now, and where can we achieve this number, and when can we do this?
It is achievable, and we are also increasing capacities of our existing 3 facilities. So that factor also will have to be considered. So definitely it is achievable. And in terms of the time frame, again, bit difficult, but I think within 2 to 3 years, it is possible.
Got it. So secondly, on the R&D, can you give a color as to what percentage of R&D will be looking at going forward as a...
See, last year we spent around 1.5% of our revenue, and but we are increasing it. And I think, in terms of our internal budgets, we will take it to 3% of our revenue in coming years.
Okay, that's like a multi-fold jump in our R&D expense. We've done about 10 crores last year and 30 crores this year.
We will be double. Yes.
Okay, got it. So last question, just a clarification. I wanted to understand what is sitting in this finance cost as we have just about 20 crores of debt, gross debt, and the finance cost figure is about 8 crores. What is included in this number?
So, Anupam, see, we have preference dividend, which gets classified as finance cost. Then, actually, see, we have a huge working capital limit, which we have kept, with us. So, we are putting charges, commitment charges, and we open a lot of letter of credits for it. So, those LC charges are also included there because they are as such finance costs only.
These are basically factoring that we do?
No factoring. It is the LC which we open to import material. We don't do any factoring.
Okay. Understood.
Yeah.
That's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We would request the participants to please limit their questions to 2 per participant. The next question is from the line of S.B. Bhaiya, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. I've got a question, some clarification on your consolidated results. Have you changed your business model Because last year, right, your purchases from outside were minimal, only 7 crores or so, and this time it has jumped multifold. So is there change in the business model, right? Your purchases of finished goods have jumped up?
No. See, it is actually whatever exports we are doing from India to our subsidiary companies. So the purchases of all material actually gets classified as purchases of stock in trade in our subsidiary books. So it is just that. There's nothing else.
So, but last year it was only 7 crores and this time it is 140. So is there a change in that? So that is what my question was.
No, there is no change in that. I think you need to look at all three figures together to arrive at the exact number.
So I was looking at the three figures. Actually, consolidated, if you go through the consolidated profit and loss account, purchase of stock in trade for this quarter this quarter is 147 crores, whereas last year it was only 7 crores. So I'm referring just to that. So in case you can provide some color to it.
This is basically how the subsidiary companies have accounted the purchases from parent company. So
I think in consolidated results it gets negated, right? It gets offset against while you consolidate the results.
Sales get negated. Purchases remain as it is. The sales get negated.
So purchase, inter-purchase from subsidiaries to parents, you mean to say, right, it doesn't get offset?
No. Because they will remain, because otherwise they will purchase it and then they will sell it. So that
then how come last year it was only 7 crores and this year it is 147 crores? So there must be some change in the manner, either in accounting, the manner in which you are accounting for it. Something must be there.
Exactly.
Last year it is only 7 crores and this year it is 147 crores.
Sir, that is why I am telling you, you please read it, the three figures together. Then you will have a clarity.
Three figures, which three figures you are telling, sir?
The cost of material consumed, purchases of stock in trade, changes in inventory of finished goods and work in progress and stock in trade.
So that means there is some change in the manner what you are accounting as cost of material consumed and purchase of stock in trade. There's some change in that.
It is just presentation, yeah. It is just presentation.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Prati Rathi from Perpetuity. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. I have a question about US and UK, both on the constant currency terms. So in US this year we had a revenue of around $80 million and that was on around 33% growth. So how do you see that over the next 2 years in constant currency terms? And similarly for UK, we had 60 million pounds of revenue, which was like around 8-10% growth. So if you can give, in constant currency terms, how can we see this business is progressing?
Krati, it will become a bit of forward-looking statement in terms of how much revenue exactly we will have. So we will keep growing. I think that growth momentum will continue. That much I can tell you right now.
Okay, so what was the reason of a subdued growth in the UK region where we just saw like a high single-digit kind of growth in constant currency?
The UK has grown by 14% year on year. And again, the focus on UK is on margins. We have improved our margins in UK. So I think rather than having a top line growth only without having improvement in margin doesn't make any sense. So the focus in UK remains on bottom line growth.
Okay, so all right, thank you.
Thank you. We would request the participants to please limit their questions to one per participant. The next question is from the line of C.A. Devraju, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello, good evening, sir. I congratulate for the good number. And I just want to know about the plans about the free cash flow that is being there and where it is being invested?
Could you repeat the question again?
Sir, I just want to understand about the free cash flows and where it will be invested and how the amount is being managed.
So see, as Mr. Mark has already discussed, we are looking at capex. We are looking at investments in new formulation facility into API as well. We also are looking at aggressive R&D spends. So I think the capex will be the major area where we will deploy our cash. In terms of where it is lying, see, we have a cash balance of around 212 crores in our books, which are lying in banks as fixed deposits right now.
Okay. Sir, I just want to understand the capex means, will it be a backward integration or forward integration?
It will be both.
It can be both.
Yes.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Arun Kumar, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. So I think results have been great, and a lot of credit goes to the entire management. I have three small questions. So my first question is that with the entire world going on a lockdown for last more than a year, and probably we'll see the entire calendar year also will be in a semi-lockdown. So do you think that with being in the lockdown and that makes people very inactive, do you think that people at large in the entire world will be more tuned towards diabetic in the coming years? Do you think that's so?
Well, it's as a matter of fact, yes and no, because again, diabetes is genetic as well as lifestyle, both put together. So again, you've got to understand from where the person is originating and what is the cause and why was the cause. But definitely in terms of lockdown, opening up, not opening up, we do see an extended version. People talk of second wave, third wave. People are more cautious, more literate, more educated in terms of medication. COVID has taken a toll on people with different ailments, and especially diabetes is highlighted out there in part of the issue related with COVID and the mortality rate involved with that. So people are ensuring they take the medications on time, and they should take it, and they also can ensuring they have enough stock of diabetic medication with them so that they don't run out of stock. I'm not very sure whether I've answered that question because it was a very broad question exactly because again it's difficult to know how the world will play out during this COVID times.
Okay, so my next question is based on to the response of the first question, that your revenue of last financial year to the previous compared to 20, you have grown by 21%, but your diabetic contribution, anti-diabetes, has degrown from 18.4 to 10.9%. So if we put that thing into numbers, so probably there have been a loss of 100 crores of business in diabetic segment in the last year. So is it what that people have become less diabetic, or people have become, they have taken less diabetic medicine, or probably as a company, there's some business losses there or something. Can you throw some light on that?
See, we had a metformin recall in US during last year. And this was because of the NDMA content in the metformin ER tablets. Most of the pharma companies had to recall their products. So it was just a temporary resulting into, so we had to readjust. We have worked on our processes, our formulas, and so that process basically there was a gap in between, wherein the sales have slowed down. So now it has picked up, and in this year we will do much better in anti-diabetic segment.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pranav Gandhi, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hi, congratulations on the quarter. Just one question for you on, you mentioned in your investor presentation that you had filed 23 ANDAs in the US. Could you update us on the process and how many new product launches you expect in the US this year? And also for the UK, you said you're working on receiving US FDA approval for your Southport facility. So what stage is that at right now? And if that approval does come, what impact will it have to the overall business?
We are expecting 3 to 4 launches in US in this year, and we plan to file around 12 ANDAs in next 2 years. So far as getting our UK facility approved in US, we are working on that, and we are working on a large basket of RX liquid products, and it's a strategy which will pan out in coming years. So definitely that will help us in taking our UK sales growth to another level once we achieve that target. So it's an ambitious plan which we have, and we are working on that.
So just to clarify, we've not filed for US FDA approval. It's something that is an objective and
it's in our, for us. The products are in R&D stage right now.
Thank you. We request the current participant to please come back in the question queue. The next question is from the line of Devesh Vakharia, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, congrats, Mark, on a good set of numbers. Do you... Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah, do you have any revenue target for the current year?
Well, all I can tell you is we will grow. I can't give you a projection, a short-term projection or a forward-looking statement this short, but we do have plans. Our business module does take us to 2,000 crores within the next couple of years. So that is something that we are working on, we are pursuing, and it's in play right now. But we can't give a outlook quarter-on-quarter basis or the next financial year basis.
Okay, and is there some shortage on the raw material side of pain management molecules, as in for ibuprofen? Is there a shortage of raw materials or something?
There's always a shortage in this pandemic. I think we have adapted. It's a new normal, I would like to put it. So there's always a shortage, if not in this molecule, in something else. Yes, there was a shortage in some of the molecules in pain management, but we have huge inventory, and that is part of why our inventory built up is also there, because we anticipate the pandemic issues, and we took calls to consciously keep good enough of stock and inventory so that we don't get badly impacted during these pandemic times. But yeah, I mean that's pretty normal right now.
Thank you. We would request the current participant to please come back in the question queue. The next question is from the line of Suresh Agarwal, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes,
hello. Congratulations. I want to ask regarding if the new facility which we are going to commence, it will take around 2 years, no? And in your press release, you have mentioned that the capacity expansion at US facility completed with addition of packaging and manufacturing lines, and in Goa undergoing capacity expansion for softgel capsules. So, what kind of capex we have incurred in both this expansion, and what kind of sales growth this expansion can give to the company?
See, we have done CapEx of around 40 crores in these two facilities during last year. And that will, see, these are all additional lines are being constructed. So in terms of revenue, a bit difficult to quantify exactly, but definitely it will be a decent amount. And very nice.
Okay.
Payback period on these investments will be just less than a year.
But this spot prices in the paracetamol, this is increased 2-3 times, no? So if we are also facing that hit.
What is your
Para-aminophenol, KSM used in this paracetamol.
Right. So see, basically the prices have gone up, but there is no shortage of material as such, and we are sitting on inventory. Basically, our understanding here is that this is a temporary situation, and maybe within next 3 to 4 months' time, the prices will again regularize and will come back to its old levels.
Okay, one more thing, our consolidated revenue from operations for FY21 was around 1,400 crore. If we want to do 2,000 crores of revenue in FY22, then with this investment and with this capacity, 70% capacity utilization, just 30% is there, so we can achieve this 2,000 crore with this facility, or are we going to plan other than this greenfield expansion? Are we going to have any capex in our existing facilities in this year to for additional growth in sales?
See, I have already answered this question. It all will depend on the product mix in terms of what kind of realization we can have with this capacity. It is possible, and as we talk, the capex at the existing facility is an ongoing process, and we keep increasing capacities. We keep upgrading machines in terms of replacing low-cost machine with low capacity machine with high capacity machine. So this is an ongoing process, and we continuously keep investing in our existing capacities. So yes, it is possible to achieve much better revenue from these capacities. It all will depend on product mix.
Thank you. That was the last question. I would now like to hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
Thank you, everyone, and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Marksans Pharma, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your line.